Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the March Advisory Board meeting. I know the meeting was originally scheduled for earlier this month, but we had several conflicts, jury duty, and some other issues came up, so we decided to move the meeting. I think we actually moved it twice. So, do we have anyone on the phone with us? Deb? Linda? Okay. Well, that's a good segue to roll call. So, Deb Roby? Ed Rolls?
Here.
Stephen?
Here.
Carl?
Here.
April?
Here.
Beth?
Here.
And Linda? Okay, so we have Deb and Linda not on the phone yet, so they're both gonna be dialing in. So, alright, so we're gonna start this meeting by having Kristen give us an overview of the minutes from our last meeting. So, Kristen.
Good afternoon. The minutes are found on page 5, starting on page 5 of your booklet. Here from our last meeting held on February 9th, 2016. The meeting was called to order at 1:06 p.m. Advisory board members present are listed. One member, Linda Fugate, was not in attendance. Other DHSMB members and visitors are also listed. The approval of the review of the January 12th meeting minutes was performed, and they were unanimously accepted with 2 changes. And at the bottom of page 5, there's an IPMV update. Going over to page 6 is a stakeholder outreach update where updates were provided on the tax collector focus group, the clerk of courts meeting that was held on February 2nd, as well as future stakeholder outreach initiatives. On page 7 starts the policy and decision review, where we review line items from the policy and decision document. This continues over onto page 8. Midway through, we begin our phase 1 program update, starting first with a financial review by James Simmons. Wendy Lynn giving an overview on program status as well as change requests. And the senior business analyst provided a requirements validation update for each of the teams. Bottom of page 9, Samadi Jones provided a communications update. And the meeting was officially adjourned at 2:10 p.m. On page 10 lists all of the handouts that were supplied in support of the meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from the February 9th, 2016 meeting?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you. Is there a second? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. We will accept the minutes from February 9th, 2016 as approved.
Our next agenda item is stakeholder outreach. I'm going to ask Jessica to give you an update on meetings that we've had with Department of State and also SPAR, your administrative review. And then Judy and Laura are going to give an update on the meeting that just occurred yesterday down in Orlando with the renewal data recipients, the vendors that get our renewal data. There's some tax collectors there as well. So we're going to give you an update on that. So Jessica, we'll start with EOS.
With EOS, we've met several times to discuss changes in both the online voter registration and voter smog and how they'll impact each other. Among those changes, there's the change that will require the party affiliation selection on all voter applications, regardless of what status you're selecting. We're going to allow users to proceed with the application process without having to provide complete previous address. We'll pre-fill customers' address information from the driver record to prevent retyping. We're aligning our questions to match the current paper application, and we're going to be giving the voter oath and personal information acknowledgement through the signature tab, so that the customer can look at that before they agree to submitting the voter. We're also adding a disclaimer to payment and voter application receipts so that we can remind the customer to keep those receipts in the event that they don't receive their voter card.
And then, on the signature badge, when you're displaying it back to them for them to accept, that's gonna show party affiliation.
Yes. Another thing we discussed with them was the possibility of receiving the current voter status from DOS so that we can see whether the customer already has a Florida voter registration or not. And we're still waiting on a decision on that, but we have discussed it. And we reviewed our sign-off document, which is basically a list of all these changes and a place for DOS to sign off and say, yes, we approve these changes and we're okay with them.
Didn't you say, when you first started your spiel, the party thing, because I know that's been an issue recently, is still something that the customer will choose every time, which is the way it is now.
Well, it's not like that now. Right now, they only select the party if it's a party change or if it's a new registration. So we're gonna change it so that we're gonna require it every single time, regardless of whether it's an address change, a name change, or just the update, new card.
Yes. Because I thought there was a talk on that. Perhaps everything.
I think that may be what.
With this
there's
whole
an issue
NDA.
today, yeah, there's an issue with them, maybe sometimes the customer thinks that they registered as something else, but because they only had an address change, we didn't update that kind of affiliation. So
Correct.
that's the reason.
Right.
So,
So it was that way before they ever walked in. Right. And, okay, and that's why I asked if we're gonna display it on there before they get accepted.
Yes.
We'll say Republican, Democrat, Green Party, or no party affiliation, or whatever it is.
Can we stop for a second? Can you bring down the number? Linda and Deb both are having trouble with saying that the call hasn't started. So is there? Is something we missed, Jessica?
it's possible that we're not
I apologize. We're gonna.
That's okay, but I'm not saying all that over again.
So much to be.
We'll rewind. Y'all are looking at this.
Yeah, thank you.
This is, I picked a good spot. Yeah, I knew this is why I said this.
Only need to remove it, save the
Once you get, let me know what's true.
And 61224 511 3318.
or whatever.
Please enter your access code followed by the pound or hash sign.
Okay. 215 683 805.
Need to print this, nice, just one good an hour.
To enable audio controls, please enter your audio input followed by the pound or hash sign.
Freeze, gonna turn that off.
Hello?
Join the club.
Hey,
Just aggressive, but I was.
Yes.
That's what they do.
Somebody on? Okay, and let's get Linda on that. And she's gonna.
Yeah, the 866 number isn't working, so whoever's trying to call in might want to try the
Yeah, we got it,
4.
we got it.
Just
Okay.
okay, when you wear glasses.
I'll be 46, that's. Tell that to her.
Linda, are you there?
I sit here too long and I get up, it's like,
Linda? Alright, we'll go ahead and Linda, they're calling her, I think she's in a different location, they're calling her to have her try again. So we sent out the right one.
Did we get Deb? She on?
Okay, so Deb's all right. Linda, is that you?
I'm on.
Okay, so we have.
Hey, this is Linda Keegan.
Okay, thank you, Linda, sorry about that.
That's okay.
Alright, so, Jessica, we already had approval of the minutes, since we had a quorum, so we had approval of the minutes. Jessica just was in the midst of giving us an update of, recent meetings that we've had with the Department of State, so we'll let her continue with that. You wanna?
So quickly, just to recap, we've met with Department of State, to discuss the changes both in the online voter registration and Motorist mod and how they'll impact each other. Our next scheduled meeting is April 4th with the technical team, and that's when we'll be reviewing and hopefully getting a sign-off document from DOS from the changes that were requested and agreed to with DOS. The next update is on the bar meetings. OMF has met several times with Bureau of Administrative Reviews to discuss and review requirements for bar functionality in MyDMV and DO issuance. We've discussed the plan functionality, reviewed the screen mockups for portal and DL, and BAR has provided us with some information to assist in the process of retiring the GOBI interface, such as reporting, scheduling, and data input requirements. And our next scheduled meeting with them is this afternoon.
And I do wanna go back to, DOS for a minute. We had a meeting with Terry this morning, and she asked, okay, so will the customer choose their party every time? And right now, I think because of some setup differences in some of the offices, we have it where the customer is going to use the signature pad to verify that they have the right party. But Terry wanted us to look into having the customer actually select it every time. But I think there's some differences with some of the offices and when they're set up, so she asked us to look into some other options that we could possibly provide so that we can accommodate that request, so we gotta look into that. Am I correct? All right. Any questions about BAR or Department of State? Okay.
No.
Next, yesterday, I went down to Orlando with a few of the Motorist mod team members and met with the renewal vendors. Had a great meeting with them actually from 9 until 12, and then had an IT coalition, tax collector IT coalition meeting after that meeting. And of course, these are all the vendors that receive data on behalf of the tax collectors and send out the printed renewal notices. So Judy, you wanna give us an update of some of the things we went over with them?
Yeah, we talked to them about some of the upcoming, enhancements in the new, renewal system, some new fields and things that we're gonna be capturing, such as one of the, and some of this information we got back, we sent out a survey about a year and a half ago to the tax collectors. About a week and a half ago, we actually sent out another survey to the vendors themselves, and based on some of that feedback, some of those items we had already captured and had planned to do in the new system. But one of the requests we got back was about stops in general. Currently in the file right now, we tell them there's a stop, but they don't know who the customer needs to contact or who, what agency or things of that nature. So in the new file, we are going to be providing those details for them. We talked about some new registration types that will be included in the file, as well as some of the things we won't be including anymore. One of those requests was like confidential and fictitious records, that we would be excluding those from the file. We talked about the new process and how currently today we push the data to them. In the new system, they will actually be coming to us to retrieve that data. Chad gave a kind of high level overview of what that new architecture is going to be like, and that we're going to be using web services, and the data format itself is probably going to be JSON. We're going to have a follow-up meeting, because even though we thought the vendors were going to bring some of their technical people with them, I think we ended up only having one technical person. So we are going to have a follow-up meeting with them to do a deeper dive into those technical aspects. We did get
couple requests for some new elements, some new indicators as far as, because the department is gonna now start emailing, renewal notifications. One of the things they asked for is if we could put an indicator on that record so they would know that we've already sent that customer an email notice, and that's something we can do easily.
As opposed to, we originally were planning on not including,
If they had renewed,
If they
which
had
we still don't,
right.
if they've already renewed, by the time we're ready to send the files to the vendor, we won't include that person in the file because there's nothing else for them to do.
but they still wanna know who.
Right, but they do wanna know the ones that we sent an email to, so, and if those people haven't renewed, we will let them know. We had a request, there's some issues currently in the file where we, for whatever reason, it could be a discontinued plate or some missing information on a vehicle, but there's several different scenarios where we won't calculate a fee because either we're missing some information or the customer is at a point where they either have to replace a plate that we no longer have and we don't know what plate they're gonna choose. Or one of the other ones was like motorcycles under 21, at the point if doing this renewal, they're gonna be older than 21 and they have to switch. But we have some of those things, and what we found out on, even though we're not quoting a fee, some of the counties or the vendors are actually going in, doing a lookup and actually putting a fee on it when they mail it out. So one of the exercises we're gonna take back to the renewal focus group is let's reevaluate these no fee scenarios. Because if we're purposely not sending a fee and then they're taking an extra step to go back and include it anyway, then maybe we need to talk about those and see whether we should.
Yeah, begs the question how they're doing it.
I don't know, so that's why we're gonna go back to them and let's kind of talk through them and figure out what are you doing. I don't know if they're just looking in the tax rate manual and making an assumption. I'm assuming if he's gonna be over 21 and he still has a motorcycle, then we know what that, so we're gonna take a look at the list and work through those. There was a couple other things,
There's a request to maybe consider having kiosks in the offices, again, for simple renewals. There was some discussion about, naturally we talked about, we had kiosks in the past, but there was some discussion around the new, technology advances that are made to kiosks now that they accept cash, they will accept a check or whatever. So there's some discussion around that. We mentioned that in our O&M leadership meeting this morning. And I'm sure there'll be some discussion around that with the executive steering committee as well. And the thought there is that this would be for simple renewals.
simple renewals.
Tags or PLs or both.
They were mostly thinking, I think it was tags that they had in mind. But once again, that would be something that would come up in the next phase when we're actually rewriting motor vehicles, so.
You mentioned on the renewal notices, putting information about the stops
In the file,
in the, right,
Right, we have
so, is there gonna be a limit? I mean, there's some customers who could have several stops with different entities, 3, 4, I have a toll stop from Miami-Dade Expressway, I have one from Turnpike Authority, I've got a D6 from Palm Beach County, that could be 3 right there.
Right.
Is there gonna be any, at some point, I think you would kind of reach a cap as to how, and that's a rare occurrence, those particular customers are kind of all in the world by themselves, but I didn't know if there was any sort of, it'll be up to this many, but if it's more than that, it'll just be a generic notice or not.
so we're just providing the data, each of the entities, they have their own
Format.
the format of what they print, and they will probably decide where they're printed and how much room they have. Now, I don't know if there's some type of priority that we care about, like, okay, this one should always print first or something like that. That may be something we have to talk about with them, but it's totally up to them and based on the design of their renewal notice. But the information will
But
be
they'll
there.
have access to all of it, whether they
Correct.
choose to do it all or not.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I think there are a couple of issues that they, from the survey, they rated us poorly on. That was changing vendors. We addressed that because now we're gonna let them change vendors themselves. And the other was centered around, what's that, the IP
address changes,
IP address changes,
which will resolve by them coming to take the data up from us.
Right.
So,
So we talked through that. As Judy mentioned, we're gonna have another meeting because, the one technical person that was there was from, Hillsborough County, it wasn't associated with any vendor, so we'll have another meeting, so. Any questions about that meeting yesterday?
That was primarily, because it was tax collector vendors, that was more focused on the on the motor vehicle,
It's strictly.
exclusively motor vehicles.
Yes.
All right, so now we're gonna, go through, any updates that we have from ESC, from the issues that broke, that I think most of these, there may be some, because we got off the timing, I think we had an ESC meeting this month prior to having the meeting with you all, so there may be a couple in here that maybe you all are not aware of, so we need to review, and give you any updates. I mean, if there's a change, so we can review it, but any updates from ESC that we have on this. So Kathy, you go first.
I'll start, SIBUS 05 and 10 are kind of together, the ESC, we closed them on the 24th. The first one was the department stopped issuing CLPs and CDLs to non-domicile drivers. The update was the department will continue to issue CDL and CLPs to non-domicile drivers, and we closed this item. And then the
Those
next,
1 and 2, 1 and 2, 5 and 10.
well, they kind of both have to do with each other, that was 5.
Temporary.
10 is about, temporary, we printed on the card, and the update was to close the department will continue to print temporary on the card and close the item. So, those are the
Portal 06, this is in reference to the interface that we're requesting access to from the Department of Defense to verify the military status, active duty status of our military personnel. On that application that we submit to them, one of the fields is the MOU signatory, which has to be a GS 15 or higher. I think originally, I forgot who we had listed initially, but through our meeting, Terry and Donovan decided that we would submit Terrence Sabu as the MOU signatory, so we'll make that update to our application and resubmit it to the Department of Defense.
We just need to make sure that we get a copy of that in DAS. Right?
Yeah, this is just the initial, so you can get them talking to us.
Okay, so this is
They're
not.
only the,
Oh, yeah, they agree.
Okay, alright, just checking.
And from what she told Judy, that it might be a while before they
Yeah.
agree. We do have, I think Deb has some team members that are going to meet with them sometime soon.
April sometime.
Yeah, so Deb, when is that meeting that your folks are going to?
The end of April, I think it's around the week of the 27th,
So we'll just need to touch base with
or
you.
around.
Yeah, we'll need to touch base with you and your team members, with Judy prior to going to that meeting, so we can have you all talk to them on our behalf.
Correct.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Portal 24, we're still waiting to discuss this item with legal. We actually had a meeting that was scheduled for Monday, it was canceled and now we rescheduled.
Yeah, I think he says he'll be back in town on the 7th of April and would like to meet us sometime.
Okay, so hopefully we can resolve that item in our meeting with Peter. Portal 26, was actually, the issue was about providing, customers access to the scanned documents, through the portal, and it was decided that we would not do it in the portal because sometimes those documents get scanned to the wrong customer record. But Terry wanted us to research whether we could offer that service through some other means. And I think right now we're looking at NDL issuance and just wanna kind of talk
Yeah,
to them.
so I guess one of the options would be that we would issue it as DL issuance in the field, and it would be treated as a public record request. I think we still need to do some research on whether we can or can't do it, and if so, if there would be a cost associated with printing those out.
So
So we're talking about the driver license scan documents, birth certificate, passport, all that jazz.
And I think the reason why the office option was brought up is so that if we were to offer that service, we could see the person face, make sure that they are the true person holder of that record before we can issue that.
Just food for thought, when you got motor vehicle scan documents too, I don't know why you would do one and not the other.
Well, you don't have registration documents, you have title documents.
I understand.
Yeah.
But still,
But isn't this-
scan documents.
In scan documents in portal, isn't that as a kind of a customer service feature of the portal? Is it the purpose to allow them to see
Well,
scan documents?
Judy,
Yeah, I mean, that's what the purpose was, but the thing, we can't guarantee that those documents are truly yours because we're going to articulate. And I don't know if we actually got the numbers,
It happened.
that it happens that the wrong documents get scanned to the wrong customer's record because they happen to leave it in the scan bin and hit, push the button. And so now my birth certificate and social security number could be on yours and
Right, well,
you pull it up and you
It
got,
happens on the title ones too, right?
Yes, it does.
They get scanned
Right.
to the wrong records,
So that will not be available on the portal.
not through the portal, but through,
Correct.
the offices, field offices.
Okay, now, the one thing we have to, this is Deb, I'm going to have that, because we don't have any color printers in the field, so these are gonna be black and white documents, if anyone requests them.
Correct,
And who are we gonna allow the requesting?
just
I say the individual
Just the
themselves
individual.
only.
just the individual.
Only the individual, okay, great.
Okay. Just, yeah,
So the deals I have for me.
So next item is deals or.
one second, just, what I was
We
saying.
were just talking, that having it be the customer has to request their own will work. I think for the driver license side, because of the nature of what the document is, I don't think anybody would disagree with that. If we ever do provide the title documents, however, that, I don't think you're gonna have we would have a hard time arguing that that would have to be the owner of the vehicle. I think anybody can get that.
But like the title images and stuff that are on file?
Yes, ma'am. How would you restrict that to the owner only?
Well, do title documents,
We don't give those out. We don't give those out to anyone unless they have, the pertinent information. If they have the VIN number or title number, but then we have to redact the
What do you redact?
previous owner's name and address and all that.
Yes, name and address, agreed, to that I would agree, yeah. But really what you're just showing in that, correct me if I'm wrong, is this the title history of the vehicle? I mean, if I requested all scanned documents for VIN number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I mean, what I get is a title history.
get a ton of history with all the
So-
personal information redacted.
Correct. Right, which, I mean, anybody can request that now. So that was my only point.
Yeah.
EO01, an update on that one. It was regarding the hazmat extension letter, and there was a lot of discussion on whether we should continue to print the temporary permit with that hazmat extension letter, and the decision was that we would issue the letter without the temporary permit, just because the letter is, the authority for the letter says that we can issue it for 90 days, but FMCSA is asking that all temporary permits are limited to 60 days, so we're gonna kind of decouple those so that they're not issued together, which they don't have to be, because we will just rewrite the letter to say, this customer must carry their current license, and aside from that, their hazmat is extended for X amount of time until this date. And then we close that item. EO05, the water application should allow user-centered partial address. This is kind of like a holder for the sign-off, so we're not gonna close this item until we have a sign-off from DOS that says that they agree to all of the changes that we're making for motor voter. EO23, BHSOE should have access to motor voter data so that we know what updates really need to take place. Currently, we only have the customer's word to go by, and they are sometimes mistaken about their current voter registration status. Perhaps a standalone online voter registration system could be used outside of PO issuance. Again, this is still in discussions. We have a suggestion to only allow the users to see the current voter status during the transaction and add voter party selected on the application receipt and cashier receipt. So if we were to allow or have web service where we can see the voter status, we would only allow users to see that if they're in the transaction, not outside of the transaction. Maybe I'm just going.
Will there be any kind of report that you could pull at the end of the day that would show that information so you could verify?
I don't think we'll discuss that, but we can definitely bring it up the next time we meet with EOS.
Linda, is that,
I'm sorry, I couldn't understand that answer.
And you're talking about our, like, just internal for, auditing and to make sure no one's abusing the system?
Right, because currently, with all of the discrepancies that are out now, the tax collectors have nothing but their word to stand on at the end of the day to say, no, this is what we chose. But if you have a report that issued at the end of the day, something, that we could fall back on. My supervisor of election asked me to pull out the information on the registered voter, and I'm like, I don't have any proof that they registered or anything that day.
Right, not necessarily the voter
Once you
status.
get past a certain point,
Is it necessarily the voter status or just whether they applied for motor voter during the transaction that you're requesting?
right, there's nothing to say that they applied or denied or were current. There's no report that we can pull that shows us that.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, I have to verify with my supervisor, or we could have a report that she and I could compare at the end of the week or something, but we don't get anything on that.
Gotcha. Okay, so we'll add it and we'll discuss it during our next Department of State meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, the next item is DL 24. The supervisor of election would like for DHS&B to add the county location and contact information to the motor voter receipt. The decision from the ESC was to create this in a way that the supervisor of election can make updates whenever needed and to close this item. So we will be showing the supervisor of election information at the bottom of that voter registration receipt or voter application receipt. Next item is DL 25. Should the system display time and date in standard or military time? The decision was to display all times in the DL issuance system as standard time. And we close this item as well. The next item is DL 26. Will the department purchase hardware to scan or read checks to validate a check during the cashiering process? We have an action item from the ESC to research the cost for hardware and service to purchase for state offices. So we'll look into how much the hardware and services would cost and then determine whether it's something viable for us in the department.
is that action item you get Carl?
Yeah, and I have an action item to get with to discuss.
We've gone through that.
And Jeff, I think we also need to look at how many checks we're bringing in. With us taking credit cards now, we really do not bring in a lot of checks.
And we currently are not catching that many worthless checks either. As compared to total transactions, we're really not catching a significant amount of worthless checks. Another difficulty in this item is that mostly these are services provided by other companies in conjunction with whatever other service you're buying from them. Nobody really offers this as a standalone service. I haven't done anything we can get a pricing model off of for already considered.
Yeah, and I'll give you an example. We had a mid-sized office with a $12,000 deposit that was stolen. We had 3 checks in it. So I just don't know
Total how much
whether
then?
it's gonna be worthwhile.
How much? I missed that.
Do you remember the dollar?
$12,000 deposit, 3 checks.
Okay, it doesn't matter how many the challenge the checks were worth. At most, they were 75
Yeah.
apiece.
Total of about $100 in checks.
Right.
Well,
And we were able to contact the customers and get them replaced.
okay, so all of that information, like the number of checks and Carl's information, we can take back to
We,
the ESC.
an accounting can tell you how many,
Checks.
check stops we've had to do.
Okay, so the next item is DL 27. Should the department continue to collect race and ethnicity as one field? Also, should the current list of race and ethnicity be updated to align with other agencies such as the census, BOS, etc.? The recommendation from the ESC was to break this field so that there are two separate questions, and we would be sending the information to Signature Pad. That way, we put it on the customer to select what their race and ethnicity is, rather than us guessing and then having the wrong information on the customer record.
And I just suggest, in addition to looking at census and Department of State, it needs to be consistent with what we're using on crash reports and UTCs. Both of which are also DHS&B forms.
So with the crash reports and
They're both in Maureen shop, I mean, the forms,
UTCs.
UTCs and citations, excuse me, if you're using acronyms. Yeah, citations and crash reports are both motor services forms that have the same data fields on them.
so we would just have to update those forms.
So all those should be the same.
Gotcha. And the next item is
Renewal 01, we did verify that the file that we get back from the Department of Education is a complete file every week of all of their employees. So we're just gonna use that file, store it in a table, and that's what we will use for our verifications. So we can close that item. Renewal 04,
I'll take some therapies in there right now, she just come in. You can go in here.
For renewal 04, this item we're gonna actually take back to the focus group to discuss. There was a request, there's a hyperlink in the email that had the mailing price, I believe, and they wanted us to link it to their, office, with the office address, and there was a concern that if the person did that, they would actually try to print the electronic notice and mail it into the office, which would, this is not gonna feed into their high-speed system like the ones they would normally get in. So we're gonna take that back to them to kind of get some more feedback and make them aware of the implications of that request. Renewal 05 was added to the legal opinion document, and we'll discuss that with Peter, once again, in our next scheduled meeting with him.
FR1 is letters across all teams. Currently, the letters have a name and signature on them. It's been brought to our attention by Natasha that Terry had requested the signatures be removed from certain letters. And should all the letters, like sanctioned correspondence, have the name and signature removed, or just certain letters? And it was decided by the ESC, keep the bureau chief's signatures on the letters and modernize the signature collection process and close the item.
So all the letters will continue to have the bureau chief's name.
Okay, so motors maintenance at 1, so when the teams reviewed the conversion for the new restriction requirements, we realized that there are several restrictions that fit under the C category, which is mechanical aid. So the question was, if the customer has more than one restriction that qualifies as a C, will we only display one C restriction on the face of the license and then multiple descriptions on the back? So we will determine if the restrictions can be rerouted to an unused letter, which I believe we have about 6 or 7 unassigned letters right now. But the ESC recommended possibly using a 2-digit specific code. And we're also checking stats to see what restrictions we're no longer using that we may be able to get rid of.
I would assume that y'all have been made aware of a couple of things that are coming with new legislation to tie into some of that stuff.
Similar restrictions or?
No, not restrictions, just more letters and numbers. The disabled and right, deaf, disabled, and then there was the other one, the fish and wildlife stuff.
Oh, yeah.
The symbols.
Yeah, the hearing impaired, the fish and wildlife, the, lifetime hunting and fishing, the, hearing impaired, and one
Now,
more.
the developmentally disabled, I believe the legislation specifically says that it has to be a D, which is why when you started talking about C, made me think of D.
Yeah, prosthetic pain and renal transmission.
But I think we do have something that.
Which is not the restriction.
CSC requires us, it would be an endorsement,
It would, or you do it like
Or
the
a-
V, I
right,
mean, the veteran thing.
kind of like an indicator.
Yes, it's really, right, correct.
And then we need to make sure everything aligns with the changes to the CDL, all the CDL restrictions as well.
Yes.
Janice, are you on?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, are you ready to give your update, your financial update, please?
I am. Does everybody have a copy of it in front of them?
Yes.
Okay. The step plan that you have is through February, however, we're the end of March, so we'll give you an update for both. Through February, we have approved an additional 4 deliverables, and then as you go into March, we've approved another 6 deliverables. So we are on track with our contracted services spending. And since we have a little bit of money in OCO and expenses, that we are in the process of setting up the orders for computers and software in relation to the development phase that we plan on starting in July. So all of that money will be spent within the next 4 to 6 weeks. I believe in the last meeting we discussed the budget amendment that was approved, so we are finalizing all our last minute moves between budget categories to ensure that the dollars are expended. And as you can tell from just the chart, May and June are our busiest months, so we have a lot of deliverables that will be coming due during those 2 periods of time. April is a little bit slower, so everybody's taking a breath right now and getting prepared for that next round. Does anyone have any questions?
Okay. All right, next, Kristen, can you give an IBD update, please?
Sure, we finalized the February monthly assessment report last week and presented it to the ESC. That report showed that we're still in a green status, no new deficiencies were identified. We're anticipating the March monthly assessment report, April 14th, correct me if I'm wrong, Janice. And again, we're hoping for a favorable outcome, still in green status at that point. We are trying to proactively work with IBB to make sure that as we move into the development phase of the project and they start looking at some of those gray deficiency areas that were on the queue, that we're kind of proactively positioned to be able to resolve any issues that might come up or just show that we're in a favorable position with that. So we've been talking with Gary about when they might start evaluating those areas, and then we've been talking amongst ourselves in terms of what standards we have in place for various components that will be applicable to the development stages in our work. So we're still looking good. Yeah, we've been working with them to also structure the deliverables for the development phase. So they gave us quite a bit of suggestions that we want to fold into the current support services vendor contract as deliverables as we move into development.
And one quick item that's not going to before we get to the last item, which is the team review. Do you want to give them the update on what we're doing with online insurance verification?
Sure. So we've been doing a lot of research with other states on online insurance verification. Diana Bond tasked us with coming up with a work group and doing an assessment of that process. So components of that assessment include evaluating the current environment as is state, how we process things now, consolidating the research from other states. So in addition to that trip to Alabama and Louisiana that we took, we've also had conference calls with California and New York. We reached out to Texas and Idaho as well. So we have some initial kind of contact with them, but we're still waiting on more information. And then this will bleed over into us coming up with scenarios or options that we can give leadership in terms of whether or not we just wanna proceed with the current path, we wanna do full Monty online insurance verification, or we wanna do some hybrid or some mixed bag solution. So we're targeted to present like a pretty solid draft of this report by the next ESC meeting. It would be nice if we could show it to you in advance, but there's an aggressive timeline, so we're just trying to make that date. Participants in the work group include participants from OMM, Laura, CT, Chad, also included are Susie and Carl Forney. There's folks from the legislative team, Angela, Jennifer, Pat Porter. There's some folks from her team. So we have kind of a barrage of people being represented. We're training along, trying to make it, so keep your fingers crossed.
Any questions?
Stephen's giggling because he's been down that road.
Alright, last agenda item, Jessica, you wanna start with an update from your team?
For the bill issuance fee, we're actually a couple days behind. Most of it has to do with clearance stories, but I think we're trending in the right direction and getting those stories completed. Our deliverable is May 25th, or our submission date is May 25th, so we have about a little bit over, or about 2 months, a little bit under 2 months before we have to submit it.
Citation processing and SIDLIS, we have a few more things to wrap up with citation processing. We're about 3 to 5 days behind on waiting for a few legal opinions to come back. Then citation processing will be finished, and we currently just started SIDLIS. So we're moving right along with that. Financial responsibility, we're doing self-insurance right now and reports, and we're behind in FR probably 2 to 3 weeks. Due to some production issues in our developers and some of our team members being pulled off to handle that. So we plan on getting caught up here, but we're behind currently.
For members maintenance, we're behind a little bit as well, about 3.5 weeks behind. I think that's due to a very aggressive schedule that we originally started with, but we plan on doing a catch-up by using the 7 weeks of slack in the schedule before the deliverable submission. And we've also asked for additional help for pre-grooming from another member on the team, Stacey Miller. On the notice log.
Alright, for renewal notification, we're currently working on system notifications. There are 4 stories in that particular functional area. The team is on schedule for that. On my DMV portal, we are currently working on the bar hardship hearing request functionality. There are 29 stories in that functional area, and we are on schedule as well.
Judy, on the driver license mail-in renewal, are we still going down the path of no longer using DOR?
So we need to revisit that. I think that we're approaching that particular area. It's on one of the functional areas that's coming up. And we need to go back to ESC and kind of see where we stand on that. At the time, Boyd was representing the business, and he had one position and Don was leaning towards the other way, so we kind of need to come back and, now that he's in ISA, or how that shifts. But,
Because I didn't know that, I apparently was lost, did not realize there was ever any disagreement on the issue. I thought there was uniformity in the idea of getting out of DOR business, but that's fine. I'm asking because I was asked.
I think part of it, when we had the discussions and we had met with Jay Westbury, and at the time, she believed that us switching in-house, that it would be covered in our normal, whatever we paid them to, it would increase the handling. And that we would have more control over it, and as far as enhancements and things of that nature. On the other hand, I think at the time when they were looking at DOR, it was like, well, it doesn't really cost us that much. But I think a lot of the times our issues with them is getting on the priority whenever there are changes that need to be made, whether
Right,
we can
just the
get those done.
liaisoning back and forth between us and DOR, I know has been an issue for motorist folks.
Correct.
Historically.
So we just need to get a firm decision on it, and I think when we met with, they're called Novitech now, I think there was we gave them initial mock-up of kind of what we thought and wanted to make sure they would be able to handle that. And there were a couple things they asked us to kind of tweak on the mock-up, so we're probably getting close to where we're gonna start engaging them again and make a hard decision.
Any questions before we adjourn? Motion for adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right, thank you. Thank you all. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.